Hey, how are you doing? It's Alan here from Looking for Warriors. And I wanted to talk about just my own experience with my kids as far as what I want, what outcome I want for them, and what I thought was important to teach them. Now, this is not a prescription, everybody's different, but I just want to give you my own experience and opinion, what I thought was good for them. I have 4 boys. They are all different ages, huge age range, and they're all very different people. Now, the very, very first thing that was super important, because I got a wake-up call. My second oldest was in school, and we went to every parent-teacher meeting, never missed one, very important. Went to every parent-teacher meeting, wanted to know what was going on, and every year was like, oh yeah, he's a great kid, whatever, no detail. He's a great kid, he gets on great, he's a good kid, or whatever, no detail. Then when he got into 5th class, he told us, all of a sudden he had all female teachers up in 5th class. 5th class he had a male teacher who told us that he's way behind the reading. And we were like, well, what does that mean? We found out at that stage that he was like years behind the other kids in reading, and they believed he had dyslexia. Now, what was an issue for me was I needed to know that. I need to know that because I would have dealt with it if I had known. So, instead of each parent-teacher meeting, I'm saying, oh yeah, good kid, whatever. He could have said, listen, he's falling behind the reading. So he told us a little bit earlier, I would have dealt with them. So it's a big wake-up call for me. Can't trust the teachers to tell you what the hell's going on. And you don't know, how could you know? So, what I decided to do was, with the younger 2, I'd start reading with them every day. And I started reading with them all to some extent. But pretty much every evening, missing a few here and there, I read with the younger 2. Paired reading, so I'd read a bit, they'd read a bit. And surprise, they're all superb readers now. Which just goes to show that it's parent involvement that makes a difference in the school, not what the teachers are doing. In my opinion. I'm not saying that you should believe this is true as I'm saying it necessarily, but I'm saying that that's my experience. And, various people have said this. Stefan Molyneux has said that it's there's studies being done on this, that the only real difference in government schools is the parents' involvement. Nothing else makes any difference. Might make tiny movements, but the one thing that makes a big difference is parent involvement. So that's like knowing what's going on, probably asking the right questions as well. Part of the issue with the parent-teacher meetings for me was I probably wasn't asking the right questions, but I didn't know what questions to be asking. I just trusted that they would tell us anything we needed to know, which was a big problem. I should have been asking about what's the reading level at, what's his maths level at, is he the same place as the rest of the kids, is he below, is he ahead? And so I'm not going to get this kind of 5th class, always way behind, I think it's a dyslexia thing with the younger 2. Now, so that's the first thing. I just think from my experience, and it's just my personal experience, which is important. The reading is super important, and paired reading is super important, and you've got to do it. Don't rely or wait on teachers to do it. Because with you there's a connection, you know what I mean? You have a connection with your kids. Especially when they're small, they'll idolise you. That's normal. And what you do is important to them. They're watching you, so if they see that reading is important to you, it's going to be important to them. Simple as that. And they'll start to enjoy it because you're enjoying the the attention and the moment and the connection of being there with your parents. That's what you're enjoying, and you associate that to the reading or whatever else you're doing. But I just think reading is the first thing. I think it's super important because it feeds into everything else. It feeds into being able to spell well, be able to read and write well, and speak well. And speaking particularly, but also reading and writing is important in almost any business environment. You're going to need to be able to do that. And the second thing that for me I think is important, and it's the one skill that I learned young that I still use every day today, and I've probably used every day for my whole life, which is typing. Now, you could say, well, aren't we all going to be speaking to our computers in a few years? Maybe. I don't know. I thought we'd be all speaking to them now, and we are to some extent. But, particularly if you're writing or thinking, typing is quite important. There's always going to be situations, you're on a bus, you're in a cafe, you can't speak to the computer. Now, obviously, I can do that now. You can write a book, speaking the whole thing, but I still need to get in edited, and I think typing's always going to be important. It's an important skill to have, typing without thinking. And maybe it's not, but it's not going to do them any harm. So I just think typing, and I'm doing that with my kids now. Proper touch typing using the home keys, not just one finger typing stuff. So for me, that's number 2. And number 3, Steve Jobs said this, that to learn some sort of scripting or programming is important. What he was saying is learning programming changes the way you think. And just like learning how to fix an engine probably changes the way you drive or your understanding of cars. So he said learning your programming changes the way you think and helps you think in more structured ways. So I just think programming is important now. I am not doing that right now with any of my kids, but I hope to be doing it in the future. And number 4 is the last thing I'm going to mention. Don't know how long this has been going on for, by the way. Let's have a quick check. 7 minutes, yeah. This is the last thing I'm going to mention. So, reading, typing, programming. And the last thing I'm going to mention is logic. Now, I'm not doing this with my kids. I've been learning some of it myself, for me. But I think the person to go to for logic is Stefan Molyneux. He has a book, Art of the Argument, which I have downloaded and I haven't read, and I will read. But I think that's the place to go for logic. So there's Stefan Molyneux, and there's also obviously just learn what the structural language and also the how language works, how to argue, where your arguments work, and grammar. And the obviously the logical fallacies and things like that, important to just understand. And because learning logic, good logic, is structures the way you think too. And then actually one last thing I'm going to say is that I think is pretty important is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So that's just the reason. NLP is used everywhere. It's used in advertising. It's used by politicians. It's used all over the place. And a place to go, I think, for this is probably Richard Bandler or someone like that. Richard Bandler would be the source, but there's also lots of other great people. And but NLP is pretty important, just to see the way you're kind of persuaded in the world. Like we're all persuaded by advertising, by do, and wherever it is. So we've just got to understand where that's come from. And it's also really useful in a business sense. I think you need to be able to not just persuade, but also to form your arguments in a good way. And NLP, and also your thinking in a good way, and NLP helps you do that. It's also good for your internal confidence and your internal belief structure, that you can kind of change that around. So they're the things that I just think are important, and none of it's been taught in schools, by the way. Maybe reading, but reading's not even being taught that well in schools. So for me, I've got to take the bull by the horns with this. There's no one else going to do it. I've got to teach my own kids. This has been Alan here from Looking for Warriors, just talking about from my own experience what is important for kids to learn today.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.